Hello, everyone. Today we're going to dive into something that impacts all of us, habits. Whether you're trying to improve your health, productivity, or mindset, the question is always the same. How do you make your habits actually stick? Well, I'm going to share with you 5 proven strategies to do just that. These are simple, actionable steps that you can begin using today to finally make the changes you've been striving for. Let's get started. 1. Start small. But start now. One of the biggest mistakes we make is thinking that we need to change everything at once. We tell ourselves that we're going to work out for an hour every day or eat perfectly clean. The truth, that's a recipe for burnout. Instead, start small, 5 minutes of exercise, 1 healthy meal, and focus on consistency. Once you've got that down, you can scale up. But the key is to start now, not tomorrow. 2. Stack your habits. One of the best ways to build a new habit is by stacking it onto an existing one. If you already brush your teeth every morning, why not add 5 minutes of meditation afterward? You've already got the habit of brushing your teeth ingrained, so adding something simple to that routine makes it easier to stay on track. This is all about using what's already working for you to your advantage. 3. Make it so easy you can't fail. A lot of the time, we fail to stick with a habit because we make it too difficult from the start. You know the saying, if it's hard, it won't last? It's true. So ask yourself, how can you make it almost impossible to not do the habit? If you want to read more, leave the book on your pillow. If you want to eat better, prep your meals in advance. The easier you make it, the more likely you are to succeed. 4. Tie your habit to a powerful why. A habit without a reason is just an action. But a habit tied to a powerful emotional reason, that's what makes it stick. Think about why you want to build this habit. Is it to feel healthier, more energized, or to set a positive example for your kids? The clearer and stronger your why, the more motivation you'll have to keep going, even when things get tough. 5. Celebrate small wins. We often wait until we've reached a big goal before we celebrate, but that's a huge mistake. Celebrate the small wins along the way. Did you go for a walk today? Celebrate. Did you avoid that afternoon sugar craving? Celebrate. These little victories reinforce the habit and make you feel like you're making real progress, which fuels your motivation to keep going. By implementing these strategies, you'll finally see the transformation you've been waiting for. It's all about breaking the process down, creating a system that works for you, and sticking with it long enough to see real results. You have everything it takes to succeed. And it starts with just one small step today. When it comes to building lasting habits, one of the most common pitfalls is the tendency to aim too high too quickly. Many of us make the mistake of setting grand goals, thinking that we need to overhaul our entire lifestyle in a short amount of time. We tell ourselves things like, I'll exercise for an hour every day, or I'm going to cut out all sugar starting tomorrow. But what happens when the reality sets in? We get overwhelmed, frustrated, and often give up before we've even gotten started. The key to making your habit stick is starting small. Think of it as a foundation. Instead of trying to jump from 0 to 60, focus on a manageable goal that you can commit to every day. For example, instead of committing to an hour-long workout, start with just 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe it's a short yoga session, a quick jog around the block, or simply some stretching. It's small, but it's something that you can easily fit into your day without feeling stressed or pressured. Starting small isn't about lowering your expectations or settling for less. It's about setting yourself up for success in a way that feels sustainable. If you can do something consistently, no matter how small, you're laying the groundwork for bigger changes down the road. Those small actions add up over time. A 5-minute workout every day becomes a 30-minute workout, and eventually it becomes a daily habit. The point is that you don't need to start big. You just need to start and make it easy enough that you actually do it. Another important part of starting small is taking action right now. We tend to put things off thinking that we'll begin tomorrow or next week. But the truth is, if you keep pushing your habit start date further into the future, it will never happen. You'll keep waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives. That's why starting now is crucial. Whatever your habit is, take the first step today, whether that's scheduling a quick workout, writing a page of your book, or making that healthy meal. Don't wait for everything to be ideal. The best time to start is always now. By starting small and taking immediate action, you build momentum. And once you have that momentum, you can gradually build on it. Success doesn't happen all at once, but by making that first step and then continuing in small, consistent ways, you'll eventually find yourself much further along than you ever thought possible. One of the main reasons people struggle to stick to new habits is that they make the process too difficult from the start. Whether it's setting overly ambitious goals or creating a routine that's too complex to maintain, these high expectations often lead to burnout. The trick is to make your new habits so easy and effortless that failure is almost impossible. If you want your habit to stick, you need to break it down into something simple, something that's nearly impossible to avoid. For example, let's say you want to start working out more. A common mistake would be to set a goal of an hour-long workout every day, thinking that you'll push yourself to stick with it. But this is exactly the kind of goal that can lead to frustration. If you're starting from scratch or haven't been consistent with exercise in a while, an hour a day might feel overwhelming. Instead, focus on doing just 5 or 10 minutes of exercise every day. Even if it's a quick walk or some light stretching, the key is that it's easy and accessible. Starting with something small reduces the mental resistance and makes it far more likely that you'll follow through. By making the habit so easy, you also create a sense of success right away. When something feels simple, you're more likely to do it. And when you do it, you feel like you've achieved something. This builds confidence and motivation, and soon you'll find that you're doing more than the minimum. You might end up working out for 20 or 30 minutes instead of just 5, not because you forced yourself, but because the habit has become ingrained and feels natural. Another strategy for making habits easy to stick to is to eliminate barriers. Think about what's standing between you and your goal and figure out how to remove those obstacles. If you want to read more but struggle to find the time, try keeping a book within arm's reach at all times on your nightstand, in your bag, or on the couch. When it's easy to access, you're much more likely to pick it up and read a page or two. If you want to eat healthier but find it hard to resist junk food, stock your fridge with easy-to-grab healthy options and pre-cut vend, so you don't have to spend time preparing meals when hunger strikes. The simpler you make the process, the more likely it is that you'll stick with it. In addition to removing obstacles, consider how you can make the experience enjoyable. If the habit feels like a chore, you'll quickly lose interest. For example, if you want to drink more water, try adding some flavor to it with a splash of lemon or cucumber. If you want to read more but find it hard to focus, pick up books that you truly enjoy or listen to audiobooks while you're doing other tasks. By making the experience more pleasant, you increase the likelihood of sticking with it, because you're not just doing it out of obligation, you're doing it because you genuinely enjoy it. Another key aspect of making habits easy is to lower the time commitment. Sometimes people set habits that require a big time investment, whether it's an hour-long workout, a 30-minute journaling session, or a complicated meal prep routine. But when you start small, you can make the habit so short that there's no excuse not to do it. A quick 5-minute morning routine or a 2-minute gratitude exercise can still provide great value without feeling overwhelming. The less time it takes, the more likely you are to do it consistently. By removing complexity, reducing time investment, and making the process enjoyable, you're setting yourself up for success. Habits aren't about perfection, they're about consistency. When you make it so easy that it becomes second nature, you remove the barriers that often lead to procrastination, and you'll be much more likely to keep at it over the long term. Too often, we wait until we've achieved a major goal before we allow ourselves to celebrate. We think that unless we've reached the final milestone, there's nothing worth recognizing. But the truth is, celebrating small wins is one of the most effective ways to stay motivated and reinforce the habits we're working to build. Every step forward, no matter how small, deserves acknowledgement. In fact, it's these small victories that ultimately lead to bigger, lasting changes. For example, let's say you're working on developing a daily workout habit. Instead of waiting for the day you hit your goal of exercising for an hour every day, celebrate the smaller wins: the first time you complete a workout, the first week you stay consistent, or even the days when you push through and do something when you didn't feel like it. Each of these moments is progress, and by celebrating them, you're reinforcing the idea that your efforts are worthwhile and that you are moving in the right direction. Celebrating small wins also helps to build positive emotions around your new habit. When you take a moment to appreciate your progress, you feel a sense of achievement, which can motivate you to keep going. It's easy to focus on what still needs to be done and get discouraged, but when you take time to acknowledge what you've already accomplished, it keeps your energy up and your mindset focused on success. The more you celebrate, the more you associate positive feelings with your habit, making it something you actually enjoy doing rather than something you dread. The celebrations don't have to be big or extravagant either. Simple things, like taking a moment to acknowledge your progress, giving yourself a mental pat on the back, or even treating yourself to something small like a cup of your favorite coffee or a break to relax, can reinforce the habit. You're not only rewarding your actions, but also teaching your brain to recognize that this new habit is bringing positive outcomes, which strengthens your desire to continue. It's important to celebrate immediately after completing a small win rather than waiting until later. This helps create a direct connection between the action and the reward in your mind. Let's say you've just finished your first week of consistent journaling. Take a minute to acknowledge the effort it took to get there and give yourself credit for sticking to it. It could be as simple as saying to yourself, "I did this and I'm proud of myself," or sharing your success with a friend who supports you. This small act of celebration reinforces the habit and makes it more likely that you'll continue with it. The more often you celebrate your progress, the more it becomes ingrained in your routine. It's not just about rewarding yourself for reaching a final destination, it's about recognizing the cumulative effort and making that effort feel meaningful. By consistently celebrating these small wins, you create a feedback loop that not only motivates you, but also helps you develop a stronger and more resilient mindset toward your habits. Celebrating small wins also allows you to acknowledge the progress you're making, even if it feels slow or incremental. Habits don't change overnight. They're the result of consistent daily effort. If you're building a new exercise habit, for instance, there may be days when you don't feel any immediate benefits, but by celebrating those small wins, you acknowledge that every workout, every step you take toward your goal counts. And this sense of continual progress fuels your momentum, making the next small win that much easier to achieve. When it comes to building lasting habits, consistency is the secret ingredient that turns fleeting motivation into real, sustainable change. The truth is, it's not about doing something perfectly or accomplishing huge feats in a short period of time. Instead, it's about showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's hard, and even when progress seems slow. The magic happens when you make consistency your priority. One of the main reasons people struggle to stick with new habits is that they expect immediate results. They want to see dramatic changes after just a few days or weeks of effort. But in reality, lasting transformation doesn't happen overnight. Building a habit takes time, repetition, and showing up consistently, even when the rewards aren't immediately visible. The key is to commit to the process, no matter how small the steps seem, and trust that the results will come over time. Consistency is what makes small actions compound into significant progress. For example, let's say you decide to write for 10 minutes every day. At first, 10 minutes may seem like an insignificant amount of time, but if you keep showing up and writing for 10 minutes every single day, those minutes add up quickly. Over the course of a month, that's 300 minutes, nearly 5 hours of focused effort. When you show up every day, even for a small amount of time, you're creating momentum. And that momentum helps push you forward, making it easier to keep going. Consistency also helps to build momentum in other areas of your life. When you make a habit of showing up, even in small ways, it builds a sense of discipline and commitment. This positive reinforcement spills over into other parts of your routine. For instance, if you've committed to exercising consistently, you'll start noticing that other healthy habits like eating better or sleeping more start to align with your new routine. The act of showing up daily helps you develop a sense of reliability, both with yourself and with your goals. It's easy to get discouraged when things don't seem to be progressing as quickly as you'd like, but consistency is what helps you push through those tough moments. On days when you feel tired or unmotivated, it's your consistent actions that will carry you forward. You might not feel like working out, but if you've made it a habit to do so regularly, the routine takes over. The hardest part is simply showing up. Once you've made the habit consistent, you'll find that even on your off days, you're much more likely to follow through simply because it's ingrained in your routine. Another powerful aspect of consistency is that it helps you move past perfectionism. When you focus on being consistent rather than perfect, you allow yourself to be imperfect and still keep going. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that if you don't do something perfectly, you might as well not do it at all. But when you prioritize consistency, you give yourself permission to have imperfect days. Miss a workout or skip a journaling session. No problem, just pick it back up the next day. The important thing is that you don't break the chain. Small setbacks become less daunting when you realize that consistency is more important than perfection. Over time, the power of consistency compounds. Each day you show up, you reinforce the habit until it becomes second nature. You might start with small actions, but eventually they'll turn into lasting routines that require less mental energy to maintain. What starts as a conscious effort to work on a habit becomes a part of your lifestyle, something that feels just as normal as brushing your teeth or having a cup of coffee in the morning. In the end, consistency is about making a commitment to yourself and honoring that commitment every day, no matter how small the actions may seem. By showing up regularly, you build the foundation for success. Over time, those consistent actions add up to results that are far greater than you ever imagined. Tracking your progress is one of the most effective ways to stay motivated and committed to your habits. Often, we get caught up in the process of making changes and forget to acknowledge how far we've come. It's easy to get discouraged when progress feels slow or when we don't see immediate results, but when you actively track your progress, you create a visual representation of your efforts, which can be incredibly motivating. When you track your progress, you make your achievements tangible. For example, if you're trying to build a daily exercise habit, you might keep a simple calendar where you mark off each day that you work out. After a week, you'll see a streak of successful days. This visual cue reinforces the idea that you're moving forward, and it can be a huge source of encouragement. Each checkmark or note of completion serves as a reminder of the consistency you've maintained, and it becomes easier to stay motivated to keep going when you can physically see your progress. Tracking can also highlight patterns you might not otherwise notice. When you take the time to reflect on your progress, you start to recognize trends in your behavior. Maybe you notice that you tend to miss workouts on certain days of the week, or that your energy is lower in the afternoons, making it harder to stick to your new routine. This information can help you adjust your approach. For instance, you might decide to schedule your workouts for mornings instead of evenings, or find ways to boost your energy midday. Tracking your progress helps you see where adjustments are needed and fine-tune your process so that you can improve over time. Another great benefit of tracking is that it makes the journey more rewarding. Instead of waiting until the end goal is achieved to celebrate, tracking allows you to recognize smaller wins along the way. For instance, if you're working on a habit like journaling, tracking how many days you've written can help you celebrate milestones minus 10 days in a row, 20 days, and so on. These smaller victories not only build momentum, but also give you a sense of accomplishment, which fuels your motivation to continue. There are many ways to track progress, and the best method depends on your personal preferences. Some people prefer physical tracking, like a paper journal or habit tracker, where they can mark off each day they complete their habit. Others might prefer digital tools like apps that allow them to log their activities or measure specific outcomes. Regardless of the method you choose, the important part is that it works for you and keeps you engaged. The act of recording progress helps reinforce the commitment you've made to yourself and ensures that you're consistently moving toward your goal. Tracking doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, the simpler it is, the better. You don't need to track every detail of your day or be overly meticulous about the data. A basic approach, such as noting whether you've done your habit each day, is often enough to keep you focused. If you're trying to eat healthier, for example, a simple checklist that tracks your meals or water intake can keep you aware of your goals and help you stay on track. By focusing on the most important aspects of your progress, you can prevent tracking from becoming an overwhelming task and ensure that it remains a tool for motivation rather than a burden. Perhaps most importantly, tracking your progress allows you to reflect on how far you've come. It's easy to forget the small wins when you're in the middle of the journey, but when you look back at the days, weeks, or months you've spent working towards your habit, it's easier to see just how much you've accomplished. Reflection gives you a sense of pride in your efforts and provides the reassurance that the work you're putting in is paying off. Even on the days when progress feels slow, tracking helps you realize that consistency really does add up over time. So, as you move forward on your journey to build lasting habits, remember this: success is not about perfection. It's about consistency, patience, and the small steps you take every day. Whether you're starting small, stacking habits, or celebrating your wins along the way, each action you take brings you one step closer to your goal. Track your progress, make things easy, and embrace the process. And most importantly, remember that the key to making any habit stick is to keep showing up, no matter what. The road may not always be smooth, and there will be days when it feels tough, but trust that if you stay consistent and focus on the small wins, the results will follow. You have everything it takes to create the change you want. Now, go out there, start small, take action, and make those habits stick.